iFactor Consulting's Web Maps connector for Small World is continuously adding new vendors, new supported data vendors. So we have things like Bing, Google, MapQuest Open, OpenStreetMap. We have regional sources like Nearmap in Australia, Longdo in Thailand, even ArcGIS online services for people with ArcGIS subscriptions. One thing we hear from customers sometimes is, what if we have our own data, or especially our own aerial imagery? Can we view that in Web Maps Connector? And specifically, a request came and said, what if we have our own Mr. SID files? Mr. SID being the format created by LizardTech. How can we serve those up? And this is a demonstration of how we'll do that. So in this case here, I'm looking at some Bing aerial data, and the customer has said, well, we'd really like to, where possible, overlay it with our own data. Well, if we go to LizardTech has a product called Express Server, and Express Server serves up Mr. SID files. So you can put together a whole catalog of Mr. SID files, and it serves them up using the internet, so IIS or Apache web servers, and it would look something like this, where Web Maps Connector sits inside the firewall. Inside your firewall, you would have IIS or Apache web server, and you would have this LizardTech Express Server that basically just is registered, that has catalogs registered with it, just a bunch of Mr. SID files that have spatial indices. And then you start up Web Maps Connector, and you can point it, like as always, you can point it to the cloud, to our various supported data vendors, but you can also point it to your internal LizardTech WMS service. So here's the example. So here's Austin, and so we wanted this. We wanted to do the aerial label, that was Bing, and the customer says, we have Mr. SID files here that are actually more recent, more current. How can we overlay those? So I've configured my IIS to make use of LizardTech, and it just looks in this catalog here, essentially a catalog being a folder of Mr. SID files, and it stitches them together. When it gets a request for particular bounds, it gets the pixels that it needs and sends it back to Web Maps Connector. So let's see what we do here. But turn that on, and you can see there the data got clearer. So that's Bing, and then overlaid over top of that is the internal customer data. So because we have these mashups now, here let's make it a little, because we have the mashups, we can get data with Web Maps Connector from different sources. So let's say we had that and we wanted to overlay street data. We could say we turn on the Navtech road information, and there we go. There's Bing in the background, there's the internal Mr. SID there, and then there's Navtech laid over top of that. So Bing is coming from the cloud, Mr. SID is coming locally within the firewall, and Navtech is coming from the cloud as well. So let's say you wanted to compare this imagery, you wanted to see what's different. We can actually start up our web comparer, and we can say, take a snapshot of that, and then we can say we want Bing aerial labeled, and we'll take a snapshot of that as well. Oh, we need to turn off that. And we can take the snapshots. And then with that, we can drag this around, and we can get a sense of, we can do a before-after comparison and see which imagery works better in a particular environment. But usually the customer knows that their local data is better than what you can get off the cloud. Anyways, that was a quick example of how we use LizardTech Express Server together with Web Maps Connector to view local imagery within the corporate firewall.